Super professional intro with no music so I don't get copyright struck. Struck. Yeah! Hello there, my name is Wimperman and welcome to the Argo medium flatbed lifter building of video. And I know what you're thinking, Wimp, you dumbass, you're in the wrong game. Yeah, I think you're right, I must have misclicked. Only kidding! So, the Argo medium flatbed lifter I originally built in Space Engineers, and that's why we're in the game now. By the way, I have no idea why I'm in a rainbow suit, but fuck it. I did not know I had that helmet on either, but there you go. So here is the version of the ship in Space Engineers, the original. Now in this one, I called it a medium flatbed lifter / dropship. But I've since decided that dropship doesn't apply to this ship. Ship it down to the ship and we'll ship it out here. Say ship again, Wimp. So I'm dropping that in the Empyrion one, ship. Also, this wasn't published for Space Engineers, and there are two reasons for that. The first is that it wouldn't land properly. For whatever reason, whenever you land on the surface of a planet, this corner would always sink through the floor, and at one point it rolled over onto its roof, which is, you know, not physically possible, but there you go. Yeah, just almost every time. It would be fine if you landed on blocks, like big base blocks, block, blib, bb, lots of Bs. But landing on the surface of a planet, and yeah, it would just sink on that corner, sink into the ground without damaging the ground, all the blocks of the ship. Secondly, although it's based on the Argo ships from Star Citizen, some of you may know that Argo Astronautics, I think I got that right, it might be Aeronautics, but I think it's actually Astronautics. They're a ship manufacturer in the ever to be released game Star Citizen, and I'm not sure if I would say Argo is my favourite constructor, but it would definitely be in my top 3. I love the aesthetics. I especially love the orange, because orange is one of my, funny enough, top 3 favourite colours. So I built this. I had the idea of this kind of flatbed lifter for Space Engineers, and I'm now going to build it in Empyrion. The second reason, sorry, I did start to say that I haven't published this, is because it's not entirely accurate to the ships in Star Citizen. So there are some shapes where thanks for saving, there are some shapes that I couldn't really do. I'm going to try a bit harder in Empyrion to do some of the shapes and try and get it shaped a bit more ship shape to the shapes of the ship in the actual game. Ship it down to the ship. Okay. Yeah, so those are the two reasons it's not published in Space Engineers, and I won't be publishing it in Space Engineers. Another reason, actually, is because it's got 100,000 mods on it, which we were using on our server, and there are so many that I really couldn't be bothered to fill the blueprint description on the workshop with all of the mods it required. So yeah, it's going to remain my little secret for now. The reason I am starting here, though, is because there are some parts of this ship that make more sense in Space Engineers than I think it will in Empyrion. And we're going to come into the main entrance and we'll see the first one of those, and that is this elevator. Is the ship on? Hang on a minute. Light. See, these aren't labelled. They should be labelled. Right. Startup. Turn on battery solar panels. Is that one? Do you know what? These aren't labelled, so I can't tell. And I can't remember. It's been so long since I played this game, I can't remember how to access that. Give me a minute, I'll have a look at the controls. Okay, so I think I have it. So I need to follow those instructions. I'm pretty sure this ship is off. So use the control panel to toggle the batteries, solar groups on. Oh! Yes, of course. Use the control panel. That's a control panel, isn't it? Okay, right. Control panel. Sorry, guys. Control panel. Batteries and solar on. Okay. Batteries and solars on. Okie dokie. Start up. Push the open close exterior doors button. That's one of these. Oh, there you go. Open close. So yeah, had to do all this for Space Engineers. Obviously none of this will be in Empyrion, the Empyrion version, because our doors, we're a bit more advanced. It's probably a bit more in the future in Empyrion than Space Engineers is. And our doors have force fields, so none of this will be required. Okay, so door control on and off. That should be that one. Yeah. And now press the cycle Foyer lock. So this little room is the Foyairlock. It's like a play on the word Foyer and airlock. So we should now be breathable. That light should turn off, but maybe there's something funky going on with the signals. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so the reason we're in here is in the Foyairlock in the Space Engineers version, we have this little piston activated lift, piston controlled lift. Now we can't do that in Empyrion, in Empyrion. So unfortunately, it's probably going to have to be a little ramp in here, which is a shame. But there you go. Now we're going to go through. Really? Oh, there we go. So it was. Yeah, it obviously was atmosphered, and now it's not. And then I pressed the button, and now it was again. Right, so we have this little living area. We're going to go through that into this room, because this is another bit that's going to be a bit of a problem in Empyrion, because we have a ladder, and we don't have any small grid ladders as far as I know. What? Where am I? Yeah, as far as I know, we don't have any ladders, small grid ladders in Empyrion. Ladder. So unfortunately that will be gone as well. It'll probably be a ramp in here too, because you can't really get stairs to work in Empyrion either. Next we have some more ladders. No, that's the wrong one. That one. Come on, out they'll go. Yeah, more ladders here that takes you up onto a little landing pad on top of the ship. This was for like a little shuttle pod and or a like snub miner or a snub fighter. I parked them up there as well. So unfortunately the Empyrion version won't have that either. It won't be quite so well armed either. And yeah, these engine housings, the thruster housings, will be different shapes as well, because I won't need to use thrusters that are 3x3x3. Yes, so that is the end of the Space Engineers bit. So I'm going to be building this slightly differently, but mostly the same in Empyrion, and I will see you over there. Okie dokie then, here we are in Empyrion, and as you can see I've made a start already. This is the Foyairlock, the bottom level of it. Obviously it won't be staying that colour, that's the default colour that the game picks. As you can see, I have sorted the colour palette for this ship. Now all of the blocks will be painted initially in my damage texture and colour. That's this one and this one. and then I will paint the exterior and the interior separately from that, so that the surfaces of the blocks that touch each other will look damaged when blocks are removed or destroyed. Yeah, I have sorted what colours. So I've been using a colour picker on these images, that one for the exterior, and as you saw, that one for the interior, and I've then put them into the palette there. As you can see, what I consider the tertiary colour, it doesn't actually use a tertiary colour on the actual Argo ship, so I've left it red, bright red, so that I know that I don't need to use that. I have brought in, actually I did this first, I brought in my small construction dock, which has some lights on it that I use for lighting up builds. And I did that first because I knew that when I had the ramp in this Foyairlock, I would want to test it in gravity. I needed somewhere to put a gravity generator, so I brought in the construction dock to place that gravity generator. I wasn't going to, I wasn't planning to, I should say. But yeah, I needed somewhere to put that. So we will have a quick look. I wasn't sure if I wanted these 2 wide doors or the 3 wide doors. I tried both, and I think I prefer the 2 wide. And then this is what I got so far. So we've got a little bit of easy access stuff there. Oh, wrong button. Noob. Right. As you can see, you can come up the ramp in this gravity. I would imagine it would be slightly more difficult when you're on a wonk, for example. You know, when you slightly roll to one side, especially if you've landed on some uneven ground. I did try the 1 to 2 gradient slopes, and this thing was twice as long, and it's not supposed to be that long. That's what she said. So it ended up being a 1 to 1 gradient ramp instead, which, you know, I'm okay with. As I said, I would have preferred to have a piston powered elevator there. It would have been cool. Oh yeah, here's the other funny thing. So in Space Engineers, these small grid blocks are 1/2 meter by 1/2 meter by 1/2 meter, and in Empyrion these small grid blocks are the same, 1/2 meter by 1/2 meter by 1/2 meter. But for some reason this Foyairlock seems bigger in Empyrion. It's the same size, by the way, 7 wide. Yeah, 4 there, then 2 for the window and 1 extra where those are. But yeah, 7 between those 2 walls. I don't know. I don't know if it's... Do you know what? I think it might actually be... Yeah, I think it's the same length as well. That's 7 long. Do you know what? If I'm not going to bother going to count the blocks in Space Engineers, but yeah, it's weird. It seems bigger somehow. That's what she said. Maybe one day I'll stop with the "that's what she said" jokes. Maybe instead I'll change it to "that's what the actress said to the vicar." Right, anyway, so this will be the end of this little update, just to show you that I've got started, and the ramp is in place. Not that I really like it, but it's the best option, really. And like I said, I have the palette sorted. So I shall carry on working on this for a bit. So it's actually been a day since I recorded the intro in Space Engineers. So it hasn't been a long time, but yeah. Right then, so I'll probably see you in a while then, when I have another update to show you. Goodbye. Okay, a little update. I've made some progress so far. Yes. So I wanted to put a couple of manual weapons on it. Now it will have turrets along the side on the kind of thruster housings like the original did. And I was going to put some on top as well, but I thought you might want some manual fires just to clear out some drones if you wanted to manually. So I sort of based that turret on what's on top of the Argo raft from Star Citizen. And yeah, so I've got some progress. Now... Oh shit. Whee! Now, I think I know, I said in the last clip, why this seems bigger. And I think it's the character model is a different size. So in Space Engineers, the doors are 4 blocks high because your character is 3.75 blocks tall, which works out as what, 187, I think, meters tall. What? Yes, you're 187 meters. Wow, that's massive. You're 187 centimeters. There we go. Whereas in Empyrion, doors are only 3 high, so you can fit through a 3 high gap. You see this door here, 1, 2, 3. I'm sure you know, I don't know why I was showing you. You're probably not new to this game. So I think that's why it seems bigger in the Foyairlock, despite the fact that it is the same size. And actually, it's not the same size. It is the same width, and it is the same length, as I said in the last clip. But it's 1 block shorter, obviously, in height, because... on the original, in Space Engineers, I went 1 block higher than the door, and the doors were 4 blocks high, which gave a ceiling height of 5 blocks. But in this, I'm going 1 block higher than the door, and the doors are only 3 blocks high, so there's a ceiling height of 4 blocks. So it's not actually bigger, it's just the character is smaller. So here we go. I changed this around a little bit. There's some... struts out here like there is on the original. Change the size of that. Haven't done the ramps yet, as you can see. If we go up here, I've got some ammo for the ship's turrets, and that one is meant to be for the kind of faux turret on top. And then here we have the cockpit, obviously not finished. You would know, you've probably seen the finished product. Yeah, so there we go. That's my progress so far. I like this compared to the original. I mean, I liked the original kind of... I mean, that's orange in the original, but yeah. As you can see, I am using some carbon substrate on the outside. Now, I'm sure you know... you might not, actually. It depends when you find this ship. But I have a kind of Whimper manufacturing terms... definitions and conventions guide on my workshop that explain the rules I follow when I'm building stuff, and generally speaking I don't have carbon substrate on the outside of the ship, because as far as I'm concerned that would burn off like that as you're going through an atmosphere. Mind you, steel would as well, but you know, whatever. So I do use it occasionally for decorative things though, stuff that isn't, you know, outer hull. So that block here does nothing. See, it's decorative again. I wish there was a shape that I could find that was better there, but unfortunately not. And I did look. Wait a minute, I think I just thought of one. And it is... that? Does that work? Wrong way. Oh! So I couldn't find a block that fit. No, see, that's why. That's why I did try this before. Idiot. Idiot! Yeah, I did try that block shape before, that's why. So, yeah, we need one, hang on, there we go, that is that shape on that side, but is that shape on the other, which there isn't. But still, obviously one of the engine thruster housing thingies will go there, and that's where it'll attach, the front ones anyway. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this. I will probably do something. Don't know what. Much happier with the shape of this over the original, by the way. In case you care. Yeah. I mean, it's still not perfect, but it's certainly closer than the Space Engineers one. Alright, anyway, there we go. End of the update, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye! Okay, just a quick addendum to the last update. I said I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the roof here, and I've come up with a plan. A drone hatch and an antenna. And an antenna. Whee! Yes, there we go. I mean, at least there's something up there now. Right, see you in the next update. It's update time, and this is my progress so far. Let me put that ventilator away real quick. So, first, I've added an extra antenna, so now there are antennae on top there. In order to put the new antenna, I had to remove those thin blocks that were on the side of this drone hatch, so I removed them from both sides. There's a little gap there. I might put some blocks on the inside of that. So I've got this so far. That's where the habitation thing will be, the habitation bit. I'm going to do the same as the original, where there will be some sort of skylight windows here coming up on our diagonal, and probably the same on the back. I might do the same on top of this slope bit, the ramp for getting up and down between the decks, and have another drone hatch here and maybe a couple more antennae, possibly. Yeah, I'll have to see. So this is what I've got in the top section of this slope bit. We've got some constructors, the core, a Wi-Fi, the extenders, and on the bottom deck we have the shield, a couple of armor lockers. There's a space under the slope, and I might do something with it. I will do something with it. I haven't decided what yet. Possibly something like more O2 or something. I'm not entirely sure. But there'll be maybe storage. I don't know. There'll be something under there. Right, let's go in. There's nothing in the cargo hold at the moment. It is empty. But at least it's blocked out. And then we've got these two little airlocks that would take you out onto the flatbed pads, the same as the original, and we've got some O2 stations in both, and as you saw, these doors come into this lower part of the ramp. Yes, it's coming along nicely. I'm not there are some shapes I don't know whether I'll leave it. There's a flat line that goes all the way along here. Sorry about the funny noise. I just had a cup of tea and it was a slight repeat thing, you know, that human bodies do. Yeah, so there we go. I'm liking it so far. Yes. Right, oh yeah, and I put the ramp on the front. Not sure about this little platform, but it looked weird directly coming off the bottom like the original, coming off the bottom of the ship. So I don't know, it's the best option, I think. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I also changed these. These are now truss blocks guarding this pipe, the oxygen pipe, which is similar to the original. However, unlike the original, the O2 pipe isn't on both sides of the ship. It's not symmetrical. On the original, in Space Engineers, it was. But then, of course, they were conveyor tubes, so they were actually necessary. And having them on both sides of the ship just added redundancy in case you took damage on one side. That's not really a consideration with Empyrion. But there you go. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do all the piping. I know I'm going to have a pretend water tank in here. because there will be a shower and toilet in the habitation area. Again, it'll be fake. It'll be just carbon substrate blocks, I expect. But I don't know if I'm going to be doing any of the others. As massive as this ship is compared to small grid ships, there is only a certain amount of space inside, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do my usual ammo tubes and power conduits and all of that jazz. I will try my best, but I might not be able to, and I'm not going to cry about it if I don't. I cry about a lot of stuff, I just won't be crying about that. Right, there we go. That's the end of this update. It's coming along nicely. And yeah, I think I'll do another drone hatch on the top there. Repeat myself. That's it. Repeat yourself, wimp. Right, see you next time. Goodbye. Hello. Update time. I've done the habitation area place. Now we're going to start on the outside because I did this on the roof. So this and that matching one there are supposed to represent the kind of circle shape thingies that Argo have on the top of their ships. The SRV has them, the MPUV has a circle shape, and the Raft has one, but that's where its turret is. And obviously I have a kind of a circle shape kind of sort of casemate round the bottom of the turret that I've put here, the faux turret. It's not quite the same, so I tried my best. Obviously, you know, you're building with square blocks, so that's kind of the best you can do. Right, let's go on the inside. Oh yeah, drone hatch on the top of that, like I said earlier. We're going to go in here and walk through here, and here is the habitation here. Yep. Kitchenette area place with a place to eat, a place to sit, and a place to work. That's supposed to be a folded down laptop. I mean, I don't know how it's going to look when it's painted, but I was thinking about, you know, could I do a screen, a holographic display? I was thinking I could try and write a keyboard, but it's not going to go on that because of the angles you can, you know, the angles that the holographic display allow you to use. It won't sit flush on that at all. Alright, so there we go. That's that bit. We have these bunks, which are very, very similar to the original in Space Engineers, including the foot lockers. So as I mentioned earlier, our player model is only 3 blocks tall, but I went with a 4 block long bunk, because when it was only 3 blocks long and that ladder was there, it didn't look like there was enough space for people to get in and out of the bunk. So yeah, there we go. And then we have the ablutions. Have toilet with sink. I was thinking about putting a matching shape on the top as well, as sort of like a hand dryer type thing. I still might, but I wasn't sure if I would. So I'll give it some thought in the meantime. Oh, I thought I'd missed the glass then in that window. Here is supposed to be the shower. I mean, that's kind of the best I could do, because I really want to keep that window there. So, you know, sacrifices had to be made with the shape in here, but for the purpose of keeping that window, I think I'm okay with it, to be honest. Place to sit if you need to wash your feet, for example. Obviously, this shower is much bigger than the actual Argo ships in space. No, the other one, Star Citizen. But you know, again, it kind of I'm limited by the fact that everything is a half a block cube block. And then we've got sort of lockers, kind of one for each bunk is the idea. And I'll put the texture on here that looks like a cupboard cabinet thing. Yeah, that one. So that one will go sideways on those to make it look like they're a drawer is the idea, and then I'll put them the correct way up on top so it looks like a little cabinet, but obviously it's just carbon substrate. So aye, so there you go. That's the habitation done. So my next jobs after that are going to be, so on the original, and I'm doing the same on this, the front flatbed pads are 20 blocks long, and they're 15 wide out from the middle, and then the rear ones are 15 by 15, so they're a square. So I'll measure that out. That'll then give me where the last thruster housing would need to be, and therefore how big the engineering is. Now, unlike the original, I'm going to have the top deck longer than the bottom deck, so that I need to slope out from the bottom. Let's see if I can find an image. It's going to be similar to, on top of the engineering, I'm going to kind of do a thing maybe similar to the mole here, and the bottom is going to be, if we can find a decent image of it, sort of, so it'll be like that where it slopes up. Maybe it's one of the other ships, but anyway. Yeah, it might be the SRV, but yeah, anyway. So that's what'll happen. It'll slope up. This deck will be shorter than that one. I'm planning in here to do the warp drive, the power generation, and then the top should be fuel and anything else. Yeah, I mean, hopefully I don't end up with a huge amount of space, because if I do, I mean, I suppose there is some stuff I could maybe make more room in these kind of sections and put it in there instead, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so there we go. Update habitation. Cool. Alright, see you in the next one, which for you will be in a second, and for me will probably be a day or two or something. Right then, progress update time. As you can see, the flatbed pads are in place. They're not joined up yet, but they are in place. Joe, it's amazing how much bigger this ship feels in Empyrion compared to Space Engineers. So this doorway here in Space Engineers is 4 blocks wide and 5 high. I mean 4, because Space Engineers version has the pipes with the kind of grating there as well, but it would be there, and then the ceiling should be up there. Yeah, it's so much bigger. These pads feel bigger. They are the same size as I said earlier. They are this one and the matching one on the other side. 20 blocks long, 15 wide. It is possible, and I really can't be bothered to go and fire up Space Engineers to go and check. So I've just counted, and this pad is 20 blocks wide, long, from there to there, and then obviously these railings would be blocks 21 and 22. It's possible that the Space Engineers version, those railings are on the 1st and the 20th block, and there's actually only an 18 block gap between them. I don't think so, but it's possible, and that would of course help with the it feels much bigger. That's what she said. So I also have blocked out the back for the most part, and I've done some pipeage. Spange will like the pipeage, possibly. So these are supposed to be ammo tubes, and yeah, I had a hell of a time trying to route these pipages through the ship. I've got the power conduits in place, so these are the power conduit trunks, and then we've got the power conduit lines going to things. I kind of, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's sort of, it made me have to reroute some of the O2 pipes as well, especially in the front sloping section thing here, because originally this pipe just went in through this wall at that block and into that ventilator. Now it sort of assumes it goes up across and down in from the top. It's kind of the best I can do. Yes. And I've also got where the connection point will be for the thruster housings. They're going to be my next job. Now, I haven't fully finished this aft engineering section yet. So, that's because, as I said before, I kind of want a detail similar to this on the back of the mole's dorsal section. I'm kind of going to do it here. It'll probably come off these and carry on the shape. But in my colour palette, I have these colours that I plan to use for cooling pipes. So I had the idea that I wanted these pipes to look hot. And I had the idea that they would come from generators. So it would be coolant being taken from the generators that's keeping them cool. It's supposed to come outside of the ship where the coldness of space would cool down the coolant again that's gotten hot by the generators and then send it back into the ship. I wasn't actually planning to do that on this ship, but I have a massive space up here that I think would be good because I know I want to put the generators in the front of this top engineering deck in here, so I might take some pipes out and do the coolant idea on top. Not sure how it's going to work yet, but we'll see. But until I know how much space the generators are going to take up, I don't want to do the piping yet. And because I don't want to do the piping, I don't want to do the kind of armour around it, and therefore I also can't slope off the the top of the roof yet. But you know, we're getting there. Is that it? Yeah, like I said, this is ammo pipes. The ammo I'm planning to be here with O2 here. Fuel would be behind. So I'll have to pipe out to those pipes. Pipety pipe. So I have got quite a lot of the pipage that I said I wanted to try to do. I mean, I'm getting there. I'm happy enough with it. So one thing I might mention in quite a lot of my videos is something I need to work on with building is my that'll do attitude. I quite often do it where I spend a long time building a bit of a ship and then like an evening or 2 days or something, and at the end of it I'm not really happy with it, but I don't tear it down because I don't want to waste all that time I'd spent doing it. So I kind of think that'll do and I leave it, and I need to stop doing that. So yeah, if you hear me say that'll do, it's either because I've done that or because like this situation it's the best option, you know. I mean, I think it's alright. It's pipage, isn't it? Yes. So my next job, oh, here's where the aft thrusters will be. I've also been doing a bit of maths, kind of a leftover from when I played Space Engineers, is I quite often do maths with the thrusters and how much they can move in 1G and that kind of shit. It's very important in Space Engineers, not so much in Empyrion, because the thrusters are just so much more powerful, and here is an example of that. So was it that one or that one? No, it was the T2 mediums I did the maths on. So there's 8 there. Now I know that there's going to be on the back side of this kind of lift thruster housing thing, there's going to be 3 on the back, so there's another 6, and the nacelle along the top will have another 2, so that took it up to 18. Anyway, so I did some maths, right, and I figured out, I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers now, but I did some maths based on how much thrust these T2 mediums produce and how much they could then push. And with those 18 mediums, so I might even go down to, you'll know because you've already seen the ship, but I might go down to these tier 1 medium thrusters, but it would push roughly 10 times the mass. It's gone up a bit, so it might not be quite so high, but I mean 8 times the mass then, you know, it's that's going to be ridiculous. So yeah, I'll have to see about that. Now that nacelle that's going to be across the top, in the original that you saw at the beginning of the building of video, it's quite a big blocky square thing, and that's because the hydrogen tanks that are within those nacelles are 3 by 3 by 3, and the hydrogen thrusters at either end of them are 3 by 3. So in order to fit them in it, the nacelle itself needed to be 5 by 5. So it was a you know, you take a cross section, it was an exact 5 by 5 square. And I didn't really want that in the original, but I needed somewhere to put extra fuel. I mean, the irony is, this thing in Empyrion, fuel is not going to be an issue. I mean, there's loads of space. Again, it's just so, despite the fact that the blocks are the same size, half a meter cubed, it's just so much bigger. So originally, those thrusters on top were supposed to be like this on the mole. Longer, obviously, but that kind of slim shape profile thing. Obviously in Space Engineers it's not. Now, I did think originally that I would do diagonal ones just like the mole, because they're not vertical, they're leaning to the side. So I was going to do diagonal ones, and in my head I can see how that would look, and I think it would look stupid. So I then decided, well, okay, I'll lie it flat so that it's, you know, the nacelles are wider than they are tall. I sort of thought, actually, I might do away with them altogether, but I've changed my mind, and I think I will put them on. Yeah, good story there, Wimp. I let you know that absolutely nothing had changed. Awesome. I decided something, then I decided against it, and then I decided to go with it again. Great story. Okay, so anyway, that's the end of this update, I think, now that I've completely and utterly embarrassed myself. But I am very happy with the shape. I mean, that's okay. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. That'll do. Yeah. Worth a buy. Right, I'll see you in the next update then. Just a quick addendum to the last clip, because I forgot to mention that I have done the cargo hold. So we have quite a bit of cargo in here, just over 8,000 in each. These are supposed to be waste storage that comes from the ablutions on the deck above. And these are supposed to be big water tanks for, again, for the showers and the head. And there was one other thing. I removed the cargo box here because I was fiddling about with where that ventilator should go when I was adjusting this pipe. Yeah, there you go. That's everything I missed in the last one. See you in the next one. Right then, progress update. I've almost finished the exterior of the ship now. I've got all the struts and the thruster housings and the nacelles on top and the landing gears. And the turrets. I've put a little bit of armour around them, but not too much. Just a little bit of a casemate. Oi mate, got a light. So, these nacelles, there was originally 3 at the front and 3 at the back thrusters. Oh, and also, I started with the normal medium-sized thrusters, these ones, the tier 1s, thrusters M, and then I decided to go up to the T2s because it felt a little sluggish when I flew it around a bit. The only problem is that only these medium thrusters come in different shapes, different designs. So you're kind of stuck with that, unfortunately. But yes, so there wasn't enough braking thrusters, I thought, braking in reverse. So what I did is, obviously, I took one of the ones at the end, moved to the front, so now there's 4 thrusters at the front of the nacelle and 2 at the back, and then I tapered it from front to back to do that. I have been considering, wrong button, I have been considering maybe going up to the large thrusters, either one of those two. I'm not going to, because I'm a bit worried it's going to end up handling like a fighter, and it's not supposed to be a highly agile and maneuverable fighter type ship. It's supposed to be a bulky, heavy ground vehicle mover, so I'm okay with keeping it at these medium thrusters, T2s. I have tried to leave enough space on the inside of these where you can upgrade them to the larges if you want to. There's a little bit of conflict in these front ones. I'm not entirely sure how you would do that. Maybe you would just have them sticking out the side, have them flush. Yeah, okay, I know. I know what I mean. But yeah, so they're not any further back than that. But the housing of the thruster block itself comes to there, and then these nozzles come out further. And then that will leave space for these ones below to come down by an extra block. You would need to compromise the make-believe pipage, but I think most people would be okay with that. What else? No, I don't think there's anything else. Oh, other than I've done a little bit in here. That's just because I was trying to get kind of where the connection points for these thrust housings would be proper situated. I've put a couple of these on top, just temporary, again, just so I could fly it around and see how it maneuvered with the normal medium thrusters. So that's going to be not the next job, but the job after that. Oh no, actually it probably will be the next job. So like I said, I've nearly finished the exterior. I've got a little bit more work to do, so I'm going to detail the nacelles a little bit more, and I still need to do the dorsal of the engineering section here. I'm going to try and detail this a little bit as well. I might try and do sort of this sort of detail if I can. I'll have to see what I come up with though. Yeah. I'm also thinking about maybe changing this a little bit so that there's a diagonal there, but I haven't fully decided yet. But yeah, so I've got a little bit of more work to do on the outside, but mostly it's finished. Then I need to go on the inside, add the generators so I can do this top section here, do the reactor, which will be here-ish. And then it's the lower engineering, which is all the storages. So there'll be the O2 and the ammo and the fuel, as I mentioned in a previous clip. So yeah, there we go. I do like these kind of... have I still got it open? No, I don't. So these are supposed to be like these. Now, I think on the actual raft, that bit there, I think is lights rather than thrusters, but that's supposed to be what it is. Do you know, I might actually flatten that bit off. Maybe. I'll have to see. Yeah, no, I quite like them like that. I mean, it doesn't need to be exact. Yeah, so that's the idea. They're supposed to be that shape on the front of the raft here. Now, on this MFL, these big thruster housings, they don't rotate like they do on the other Argo ships. The light flatbed lifter that I'm planning to do, which would be this, like the smaller version of this, which will look a bit like a, well, funny enough, a flatbed truck, or maybe a pickup truck, sort of. that will have 2 of these on the back and the middle, and then the front will have a thruster housing that's going to be similar to this, that looks like it would rotate around, but on the medium one it's not. Aye, so there we go, progress has been made, and I'm fairly happy with it. I'm thinking of doing some sort of strutty type shape as well. The original has it too on the top leading to the front and the back of the nacelles, kind of a diagonal shape. I'm going to try and do that too on this one. Lengthened the back of the nacelle by 1 block to give you a bit of space here in case again you want to replace these with the larges. There is a bit of space behind them all. Again, you'd have to replace a bit of pipage, but most people I think would be okay with that. So yeah, repeating myself, and I'll see you in the next update. Right then, I've replaced almost all of the medium T2 thrusters with large T1s. I haven't replaced the ones that push the ship down. They're still T2 mediums. I couldn't rectify the conflict on the inside. I couldn't move them over because of the make-believe pipes, so I suppose I could have, but I didn't want to because I wanted to keep the make-believe pipes. And it was sort of a similar job in here as well, where it kind of messed a lot of things up. So what I did instead was I added an extra bank of 3 medium T2s on the front of both nacelles. It did mean I had to remove the detail up there that had these on. There was 3 of them there. And I couldn't put them anywhere else where it looked good. They were either pointing directly into the back of this, or they were... I tried them here, it was the best option, but it still felt like the detail here was kind of blocking the what's supposed to be the intakes or whatever that's supposed to be. So in the end I just removed a couple of armor blocks here because there's nothing but armor underneath, and yeah, and put them there, which I think looks kind of cool. Yeah, so I now need to try it again and we'll see how it handles this time. So I have saved it and I'll bring in a copy and I'll see how it handles. I'll fly it back over to the 4G moon as well. Right, let's get started. Actually, before I do want to, just because there's nothing there now other than that decorative block, I do just want to fill in that gap a little bit. Yep, cool. Oh, and now I need to resave. Resaved. Okay. Spawn it in. Wrong way. Fill it up. Oh, and as you can see, we're still miles under the CPU limit. The trick will be when I come to do the Argo light flatbed lifter, whether I can get that in tier 3. It might just have to be, I mean, upgrading from the medium tier 2s to the larges wasn't a huge jump in CPU. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but I will try and get the light flatbed lifter under tier 3. It's going to be a challenge, I think. Not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. Oh yeah, and earlier on in the video when I said about how the light would have 2 of these, so I've been obviously planning it in my head as I've been going along with the medium one, and actually they won't be the same because it won't, the light version won't be 2 decks, it'll just be 1 deck. So obviously these thruster housings won't be as big. They'll be a similar design I'm planning, but they won't be as big. And I said I was going to do a smaller one similar to the front of these raft. Oh yeah, and I just thought of something else I need to mention. I don't think I'll be doing that either, because I suspect the cockpit might be a bit further out the front, but then the ship should end about there, and then there'll be a flatbed pad on the back, and I'm planning to do some thin ones down the side in between the thruster housings, so it should be just 2 of these. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a nacelle on top as well, and if I do, it'll be a small one like the Argo mole. So the reason I got these images up, earlier on I was saying about this bit here, how on the front of the raft I've got that shape and I've put thrusters rather than lights, but actually, and you can just about see it under the lights there, but there is a better view here, it does actually have thrusters on those shapes on the front. And I didn't realise when I done that, but it sort of matches a bit better more now. So hooray for me for the accidental win. Right, let's give this a try. Did I fill it up? I went to the CPU. I don't remember filling it up. No, I didn't. Why am I filling up the oxygen? I don't know. Nor do I. Right, let's give it a try then. Yeah, and I'll see you over there. I'll see how it flies as I move around, and I'll see you over at the 4G world. Oh yes, this handles much better. Much better. Down a bit, right a bit, up a bit, no, up a bit. And go. And by the power of editing, we are here. Brakes on. Entering the exosphere. Pitch up. Okay. Level off. How are we doing now? Yep, completely stable. I mean, I was expecting it, but good. It's good to know. Let's go land and then take off. I'm going to have a look at the landing gear actually while I'm here. I'll edit that bit out, but just want to make sure they all come down. I suppose it doesn't make a lot of difference really, does it? Come on in, land. Okay, so some of them have extended, but not all of them. I wonder why. Again, I suppose it doesn't make a lot of difference so long as some of them extend, but yeah, there we go. Rightio then, let's take off. And thrusters on. Oh yes, that's much better. Okay, let's add a bit of forward. And we'll pick... Oh, no, 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 no! Wrong way! Wrong way! Impact! Oh dear. We'll have to call the NTSB. Yeah, seems to be okay. I mean, it's still a bit slow, but I suspect this would be okay even with some vehicles on. And if not, like I said, there is an upgrade path for upgrading the lift and the other thrusters to the T2 larges, so you're not stuck, and I suspect you would still be in CPU. Right, cool. So what I'll do then is, as I said earlier, I'll go take the other one into the night side of the planet and sort out the interior lights. So I'll see you when I've done that. Oakley dokley, as you can see by the multicolour lights bleeding through the hull, I have done the interior lights. You can also tell by the blue glow around the pads that I've done the exterior lights too. So these were fine, these spotlights, but it was a little bit dark at the back, so I did add some blue, which is my designated kind of landing area or hangar bay, shuttle bay kind of lighting. So I've done that. There's a little light under there. You'll see I've got there's an entrance here lights there, and at all the other places. All the other places, yes, English. Even on the drone hatches on top, I've put one. Not sure they would be necessary, but I've done them anyway. An extra couple of lights here just to light up the ground around it. So I did what I said. I went to the dark side of the planet, and I did the lights in the night time so that I could see what was needed. I might still need to adjust some of the brightnesses, especially these orange ones in the engineering sort of sections. They might be a bit bright, but we'll see once I've painted. So my next job is the LCD work. So I'm planning to do some stuff in here, labelling of the rooms and the corridors and that kind of stuff. And maybe a couple of heads-up displays in here. There'll also be some information, like I'll probably do some maths with the lift and that kind of thing. Display that, how much you can lift in certain G's, that kind of thing. We'll see how I get on. So that'll be the next job. And then after that, it'll be all the signals and the shortcuts. Yes, that'll be fun. Right, so see you in the next one. Rightio then, update time. So I've been working a lot on the LCDs on the ship, and this is what I've been working on just here. Now I do have some large grid LCDs that I have, and a couple of them have been adapted for small grids. For example, this one, which is on the MFL, is a gunnery station type job thing. And these, now I don't know if you know, probably some of you will, but I doubt all of you will. When you transfer a LCD from a large grid to a small grid, it sort of makes it tiny. I will demonstrate. Let's just do one of these. Yeah, let's just do that one for a minute. So if I copy that and then I paste it onto a small grid projector, so the large grid projector was set to 1 by 1. Yep, width 1, height 1. And this is also width 1, height 1. But as you can see, it's a quarter of the size. So annoyingly, what you have to do is go through all of this, and every single line height, size and position commands, they all need to be doubled, every single one of them. Now that might put a couple of them ever so slightly off, and you might need to tweak them around, which is a little bit annoying, but it is doable. So yeah, so these all had to be doubled, and yeah, it was copy and pasted. Anyway, so let's have a look at what I've got around the cockpit, and we're going to have a look at these on the ship in a minute. Now I'm quite proud of my keyboards. Now, I do have crazy Z's. Yeah, that's right, I'm British, I say Z, get over it. LCD work here. Now, I brought this in to see how he did his keyboards. Or her, I suppose Crazy Z might be a she, they. Yeah, so I used that to figure out how to do it. So I've sort of used, they're not quite the same square. So those squares that they've used for their button is that one. Yep. And the square that I used was that one, which is a slightly different shape. Or size, I should say. It's the same shape, it's still a square. Square's a square! Aye, so that's how I did that. Now, also compare that with my very first keyboard in this game. There's a little bit of a bonus here. I've brought in my Goliath mobile post from ages and ages and ages ago. This is an old build from before the game was released, as you can tell by the ammo boxes here, the old cargo containers, and a harvest box. Alright, so let's have a look at my first keyboard, which is that. Now, in my defence, that's an old mode LCD screen, as you can tell by the convert to new mode button up there. So I don't think the pos stuff worked. Yeah, there you go. Pos equals 20 test. No, didn't work. So it was literally just yeah, it was literally just type it out with a space in between each, which kind of leaves it looking a bit shit. But you know, that's what we did back in the day before we had all these newfangled command codes. But there's my new keyboard anyway, and that's going to go on all of my builds now. Let's have a look at the rest of the stuff. Oh yeah, so I've been using as well Colusticore's LCDs for inspiration and to see how it's done. Thank you, Colusticore, for this awesome work. Now, in my opinion, I'm sort of at this level. I haven't quite got to this level yet, but I'm sort of here in my LCD work. Look how much further I've got to go before I catch up with him. Anyway, so I've been using this. I made myself a promise when I came back to the game and I started building that I would not use other people's LCDs, that I would do all my own. Now, I am looking at other people's work to see how it's done and, you know, getting used to what they're using the commands for. I wouldn't been able to do that. That's my keyboard, by the way. I've had a bit of practice at this point. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do anything that good if it wasn't for these people sharing their stuff just so I could see how it was done. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on because this was supposed to be just a quick update to say I've done the LCDs. So here's some stuff for the cockpit and around the ship. This is environmental control. Whoops. And then we have some comms panels, internal and external. As you can see by the buttons at the top of the screens, they are supposed to be the same screen. It's just on one somebody has pressed the button to go to external rather than internal. Make believe. And here's some for the cockpit like displays, heads up displays. This one is obviously, it might not be obvious actually to some people. This is based on one of the screens in Star Citizen, and because the MFL is supposed to be a ship of the manufacturer Argo that is in Star Citizen, I thought it would be nice to try and at least emulate it a little bit. So that's what I've done there, sort of loosely, kind of, as best as I could do, kind of. Alright, so let's go and have a look on the MFL, because they are slightly different colour. Now, I haven't actually finished all the LCD work in here yet. I still have to do the labelling, like the room labelling and the areas, that kind of stuff, and the branding. So the actual ships in Starter Citizen, they have Argo written in various places to advertise that's who manufactures this ship, so I still need to do that sort of stuff. But everything else is done. Yeah, you get a glimpse in here. I will come out of God mode for this. So here we go, looking all nice, in my opinion anyway. Oh yeah, these, if you know anything about these screens, say these again, Wimp, are these screens. I just did. So they are that way round on the block in front, this one. So, and as you might know, this screen's text is that way. So I've had to use the rotate command to get those letters and numbers the correct way up from where you look. Yes. There might be a slight kind of Space Engineers Easter egg kind of thing there a bit, maybe. So the front seats have the same two side panels, but the keyboards are holographic, so they don't get in the way. They've got holographic comms panels, each one, and then the display screens are up there. Yes. I'm pretty happy with this stuff. There's an environmental control and another comms panel here. We have a drone hatch sign up there. Actually, do you know what? I can't be bothered to do that. I'm going back into God mode. Comms panel. There are comms panels all over the ship. That will be a screen, but it's going to be a painted block screen rather than an actual LCD screen, only because obviously that LCD screen that's got the keyboard on it at the moment takes up that block space. But you know, I mean, it's going to be a blank screen. There are other blank screens around the ship as well to simulate that it is a computer that is turned off or is in sleep mode or whatever. Right, and then we come through into the upper engineering. We have some more holographic keyboards and such. And we'll go downstairs. Here's some of the examples of the don't forget your helmet signs. And then there's a little bit in here as well. Again, these are just the comms panels, supposedly. Alright, so labelling and the branding next. And then it'll be on to it'll be on to all the signals and the shortcuts and the logic. Yippee! I'm so looking forward to that. And then it'll be painting time. It'll be time to get out the bright orange paintbrush. Just not yet. Right, that's the end of this update then. Oh, by the way, just in case you're wondering, these holding up the displays are these long LCD screens, the long thin ones. I've painted them orange on the back, and the front, oh, come on, is just an enter and background colour set to orange. And that holds up those displays. I tried lots of things actually, glass and the, what do you call, the handrail things. I'm not going to find them quick enough. Yes, I am. So I tried proper windows, and I tried these railings and those railings, and I was playing around with other things. Oh, another thing I tried was decorative. Obviously, I didn't like any of these options, but I did try them. Iteration for the win. So I replaced those three screens with one of these to hold up the displays. But no, I didn't like the way that looked, and then I decided on that. So right, there we go then. That's the end of this update. Right, see you in the next one. Right then, update time. As I said in the last update, I needed to do the branding and the labels. They're all done now. You can see some of the branding already. You've got the orange labels there, and then the darker ones here that say Argo. As you can see, the signal logic is also done, because the lights came on as we came over this pad. Let me turn my torch off. Yes, it's very nice. Aye, so the I did all of the device naming and grouping, and then all of the signal logic and all the shortcuts and the custom signals and that kind of stuff. As you can see by that, there's an example of one of the labels. You'll see lots of those as we go around, and examples of the branding, more examples of the branding. Yes, so these and the Argo logos, I wanted to be as close as I could get to the actual ships. Now I used the Argo Mole review video from Forrester, which I have open now in my web browser. So thank you, Forrester, for your review. And this is the moment in his video where I obviously got a look at the logos on the wall. Forrester, by the way, if you ever watch this video, and I can't imagine you will, if you're wondering why this point of your video has 1,000 views more than it used to, it's because of me. Sorry, bud. But what I would do is I'd open up your video, get to this point, the 2 minutes 45-ish point, and then I'd look at the the logos on the wall, then I'd close my browser, come back into the game to work on the sign, and then I'd go, is the word deck orange or white? And then I'd have to reopen my browser, come back to YouTube, reopen up your video, come back to this point, look at the word deck, okay, it's white. Then I'd close the browser, and then I'd write the word deck in white, and then I'd think, hang on, is it just a capital D, or all the letters capitals? So I'd then reopen up my browser, navigate back to YouTube, find your video again, come back to this point, oh, it's all capitals, close the browser, retype the word deck. Oh, hang on, does the word deck fill the entire rectangle, or is there space around the edges? Reopen up the browser, come back to YouTube, come back to your video, come back to this point. Oh, there's a bit of a gap down the side. Okay, close the browser. Right, what about the numbers? How close are they together? Come back to... I mean, the same thing with the Argo Astronautics sign on the wall as well. And how big is the gap between letters? Is the word astronautics all in capitals? Like each of those. Come back to YouTube, open up your video. What about that line between the two? Is there one at the bottom? Is there one at the top? Is it just the one in the middle? Open up your video again. Yeah. So in case you're wondering why there's a massive spike, if there is, at this point of your video, it's because of me. Sorry. So, oh, and also these deck labels on the original ships in Star Citizen, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have the number above the word deck, because as you speak you would say deck 1, deck 2, deck 3, so on. You would say the word deck first rather than the number, but the signs, the way they're written, would make you say 1 deck, 2 deck, 3 deck. I'm kind of glad they are that way round, because in order to get the 01 above the sign there, you simply use a line height above it that takes it up off the sign. Now, the way these signs, the LCDs in Empyrion work, is you can take stuff up off the top of the screen and off to the left hand side, but you can't go below or to the right. So if the actual signs would, the word deck in a black black rectangle above the number, I couldn't just use line height to move the number below the screen. So what you would then have to do is turn the screen around. Oh, I'm already there. So it would need to be that way up, and then so that you can pull the number down off the bottom of it, like so. Obviously the writing is upside down, so you would then need to use a negative size for the font size in order to flip the letters back round the right way again. So although it's possible and it's not exactly massively difficult, it is a bit more difficult than that way round. So thank you, CIG. So anyway, the signal logic and stuff. So as you can see, all of the devices are named and put in their correct custom device groups rather than using the auto group. I don't like doing that because it can sometimes interfere with how I want the custom signals and shortcuts to work. And the logic isn't exactly complicated either. There isn't a lot of it, thankfully. Anything else I need to show you? Oh yeah, so this was empty before. I'm calling this a lobby, the cockpit lobby. There was nothing here, and I was kind of tempted to put some constructors in this area, the Foyairlock, and I realised I could just copy and paste the bit from this ramp area and put it over there. Yet more examples of the labelling. As you can see, the lighting comes on as I move between the rooms and stuff. Aren't I clever? It's not like anybody else has ever done this. Oh yeah, these ramps I wanted to talk about. I was very tempted a couple of days ago to completely rip these out and have a pretend learn to English, wimp, you're a dunce. I was tempted to rip the ramps out and put in a pretend ladder here, like the original that I built in Space Engineers, and a pretend elevator here, thinking that the player would just have to use their jetpack for going up and down between the decks. I eventually decided it would be better to leave the ramps, but so really the story is meaningless because nothing has changed. But you know, it's all part of the thought process for building the ship. It very nearly didn't look like this. There was going to be a pretend elevator that didn't go up and down between the decks, but I mean there would have been a gap, like I said, to jetpack through. Right, yeah, that's the end of this. Anything changed in here? No. Oh yes, I moved this round slightly. It was against that wall, I've moved it to there. I didn't like the fact that this chair had a gap here and this chair didn't. So other than that, you see the subtle branding up there. I really like that, although that's even subtler. The other thing I think is weird, I was tempted to put some labels, signs, displays, you know, logos that said that this was the MFL, but the actual Argo ships in Star Citizen, they only have Argo branding. At no point does it say on the wall, by the way, you're in the raft, which is odd, but you know, so that's why this doesn't have MFL written around. I mean, I suppose I could do my own thing. Nah. So the next update, which will probably be the last update in this video, will be it painted. Yes, and since I was expecting all the signal logic and the device naming and grouping and all of that to take quite a long time, and it didn't. It actually went really quick. I've done it in a couple of hours today. It's possible, touch wood, yep, that was my own head, that the painting won't take as long as I think it will. Of course, there have been other times where I think something isn't going to take very long and then it takes a really long time. Paradoxically, of course, sometimes I think this is going to take a really long time and it doesn't. So, you know, Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on, and I'll see you in the next update, which will be the last update, which will be the update for it having been painted update. Say update again, Wimp. Right, see you later. Update. Hello, update time, and I lied, this won't be the last update, there will be one more after this, but this update is to say that the exterior is painted, at least to a point that I'm satisfied with. I might tweak a little bit here and there, but at the moment I consider it finished. The interior is not, and that will be what the last update is about, is the inside being painted, but at the moment it's just the exterior. Oh, other than I have done inside the nacelles, and I've done the pipages. I mean, some of it's on the outside, as you can see. The power conduits and the ammo tubes are done. What else is on the outside? Oh yes, the cooling pipes, the coolant pipes. There we go. So the idea is, it looks a little bit kind of oven grill filament thing, but I quite like it. So the idea is it brings hot coolant out from the reactor, which houses the generators. It brings it out to the exterior of the ship, where it winds around the pipe, and the coolant inside cools off from the coldness of space, is the idea. Then it goes back in with cold coolant to cool down the reactor again. Now, there are other pipages that are done. Like I said, the power conduits are done. The fuel is piped, coloured. The pipes are coloured. That's what I meant to say. As you can see, the interior isn't painted yet, other than the damage texture. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this with all my builds now. Do I need to show you anything else? Yes, in here I've done the pipages in here. So I've got the bio waste. Poo brown, of course, which actually is the same colour as the hottest bit of the coolant pipe. It's actually that colour. I'm going to get rid of those just before I accidentally paint something. Yeah, in here is the water has been done as well. Oh, and yeah, the oxygen too. Now, the water and the oxygen look very similar, but actually the oxygen is pure white, so this is 000. No, it's not. It's 255, 255, 255. Close enough. But the H2O is actually that silver colour, which is 3 lots of 192. Cancel that. Yes, so there we go. I've got to do the interior now. I need to go to the doctor and get a hearing aid. Thank you, shutters, ramps, whatever. Anyway, there we go. I'm happy with this. Looking lovely in Asbo orange. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next update. Okay, the last update for the building of video for the Argo MFL. I have done the interior. Hooray! Now, there's a couple of things I also wanted to talk about. Let me get rid of those because I don't need them anymore. Right, so while I was doing the interior, Empyrion released the patch for this game that allows us to colour the consoles and the thruster exhausts. So I rearranged the colour palette here, and I decided that this square down here would be the colour for the thrusters. As you can see though, I've got it in the unused red colour, just like the tertiary colour there. And that's because after playing around with a whole load of shades of blue, I sort of realised that using this image of the Argo raft The default blue is, in my opinion, the closest to how they actually look in Star Citizen. Obviously those are a slightly lighter blue, and I did try doing something like that blue. The only problem is with that the actual flames, they start as a whiter colour and they get blue and fade as they come as the flame, as it were, gets further away from the thruster. But when you paint these thrusters, the exhausts, it sort of does the opposite. So you see how the default is whiter further in. Let me see if I can... Yeah, here you go. They're whiter further in, and then they go slightly bluer. Elion, I know it sounds like I keep shitting on this game. I do love this game, I promise. But could we get a go slow button instead of just the go faster, the go even faster, and then combine them to go really very, very fast indeed? So white, blue, just like they do in the actual ship. Actually, I need to change that one back now, don't I? But yeah, in my opinion, a go slow, yeah, here you go, we'll just do something like this. So if I wanted to paint that and I wasn't quite in this position, to get here, it's like tap, tap, no, too far, tap, tap the button, no, too far, and then there's that. So right, let's go have a look at the interior. Now, I stupidly removed the construction dock around the ship, which had the gravity generators on it, so I now can't walk around. Right, so I've added some lines to things. This is meant to show you that that lever does these lights. Hopefully that's obvious enough what they do. Right, let's have a look at the inside. Oh, no, let's not go in the inside, because I also wanted to talk about how I've changed some things. I did mention in the last clip that I might need to tweak some things, so I've added that texture to that colour at these points behind the thruster housings. What else have I done? Oh, yeah, I've also added that as a black line instead of all orange. It just looked too much orange. I've also changed the background of the Argo logo here to be orange as well as that one. Oh, and I've used that texture as well. And as well as that, I've used a well. What else have I done on the outside? I'm sure there's a couple of things, but I'm probably not going to think of them until after I've stopped recording. But yeah, I've tweaked a bit. Oh yeah, I've added these symbols to make it look like the original, how I had it in Space Engineers. Elion, again, it might sound like I'm shitting on the game. That texture there, the hazard lines, why isn't the bit that's yellow colourable? If I pick a red, see, it doesn't... surely the yellow bit should be colourable, but it's not. Do you know what? I'm going to have to click undo a few times now, aren't I? Oh. What did I undo and then redo? Oh my god! They are so loud! Right, let's go inside now. I will go in through the front. So I have used Forrester and Morphologist's tour videos of the Argo raft and the Argo mole to get an idea of what the interior should look like, and this is what I've come up with. So we're in the Foyairlock and it's very orange. Shall we stay on this deck first? Yeah, and then we'll end in the cockpit, I think. So we go out through this door into the passageway. I don't even know how I've missed that. Do you know, I'm sure in other builds that the game sometimes forgets the colour you've painted a block. Now, the thing that makes me think... See, that is yellow, orange. So yeah, I set all the labels to be orange because I wasn't sure what colour they were going to be. I was thinking they would be orange, but then I noticed the labels in the actual Star Citizen ships are either white or black depending on the surface they were on. Now I remember going around checking all of these labels and specifically checking to see if I've coloured them all that highlight blue. I'm sure I coloured that white and would have noticed that, but oh, and also I think I changed the ceiling here as well. So how yeah, anyway, I'm confused.com. So here we go with the cargo bay painted. Yeah, I like that texture on the cargo containers, extensions, containers, cargos. As you can see, the ceiling's done. Oh, yeah, another thing. In one of the videos, and I can't remember whether it was Foresters or Morphologists. Oh. It might even be Goodish Gamers, actually. He went and looked at one of the Argo ships, and I noticed, I'm pretty sure, although it looked a bit confusing depending on the light the ship was in other videos, but one of them walked under the ship in order to get on the elevator, and the bottom of the ship looked like it was painted completely with this gold colour, and I was tempted to do it. As you can see, I've chosen not to. Right, back in the cargo hold bay. This is a bay because there's external access. So we go into the airlock. Ooh, painted. Yes. Can I get the height roughly right? Yeah, that's roughly right. So here we come into, I forget what this is called now, the foyer, yeah. The foyer between the airlocks, as opposed to the Foyairlock at the front. Painted, very orange. Another airlock. This is the one for the rear pads. And then we have, I've changed the name of these two things. This one used to be lower engineering. The one upstairs was upper engineering. Well, I decided, since there was nothing really in here that is engineering-y, it's just storage, basically. Oxygen storage, ammo storage, and fuel storage. So I renamed this as the ship store. Upper engineering just became engineering, which I quite like. I prefer it. So yeah, here we go. Nicely painted. Again, I've used the aforementioned YouTubers' videos to get a look and see how the actual ships were painted. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm happy with it now. I'm going to turn the thrusters off just to get rid of the anti-collision beacons. I'm also going to turn my headlight off so we can see what it looks like. Yeah, I don't know about you. It might be, I mean, the orange, I like orange. I've mentioned a few times, I think, that orange is my second favourite colour, and so that's probably one of the reasons why I really like Argo. But yeah, I do like this room. Okay, let's go upstairs and we shall see the engineering. Yeah, I did mention the last time that I've moved a copy of that into the front one, so I don't need to mention that. Oh, I did a little design around this, which I like. It also looks like there's little lights that light it up, like. Right, engineering. There we go. Painted as good as I can make it, really, sort of. I've also added more rails. I can't remember how much of this I've shown in other clips, but I know I had the vertical handrails, but I didn't have the horizontal ones, but I added more after seeing, again, the actual Star Citizen ships. Yeah, painted. Mind your head. So a little secret is that little symbol sign thing, the triangle, is actually there on the other side. I don't like that either. Yeah, okay. Elion, can we please do something about that, please? See, again, shitting on the game. I do like the game, I promise. Yeah, I'm sure I've done that. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. I went round checking every LCD projector and every light and every sensor with the paint gun. So how I missed that one block in that passageway, I have no idea. Well, there we go. It's nicely painted. So, these shapes along this wall at the top are actually connected to these bits on the outside. So this big strut and then these four little things on the side are where these are. It's sort of supposed to be whatever they are on the outside come through to the inside of the ship as well. I like it. I mean, it looked boring otherwise. The only problem with that, of course, is that the conduit on this side is in the way. Some of these need to be rotated. I'll do that off camera. I'll have to remember to rotate stuff. Oh yeah, I also noticed in the clip these need to be rotated too. So it will be like that. No. No. Huh. I mean, that one's the best, but we'll have to see. Okay, but that's how I'm going to try to do it. Obviously, it'll miss a line here. See, I don't know. That's misaligned regardless. So then it'll be misaligned at all of the joints with the curves. So do I just leave it as it's misaligned? I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. I think. I think I'll think about it. Once I've finished thinking, I'll think some more. Well, that's not like me. Anyway, Habitation. Habitation. Here we go. The pride and joy. Yes, there's a couple of screens in here, new screens that weren't in here when I made the last update. They are a wrong colour, so let me just paint them. Yeah. I decided I was going to have them... Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. You can see one of the screens there. Is that that? It is. Just looks dark. Must be because of the block shapes around it. Right. So... yes. So... Toilet and shower. Painted. I mean... There's only so much you can do to make it look like a sink and a hand dryer thing and a toilet. You know, there's not really much you can do. That's what I chose for the shower, but, you know, meh. Helion, can we have some more textures, please? Yeah, so there we go. Again, so the bathroom, well, it's not really a bathroom. The tiny little water closet on the Argo raft is kind of this beigey colour, which is used throughout the habitation area. And the tiny little water closet on the mole in Star Citizen is more of a dark grey colour. So that's why I've split them between the two, because then it looks like both ships. Here we go, we got a Minecraft bed. A Minecraft bed but blue, a yellow one and a green one. Luckily, my colour palette has all of the colours. Green, red, yellow and blue. So there we go, there's that bit. And here we go with the screen that that took all evening to do. Let's see. Yeah, I'm on the raft. There we go. So that screen we're looking at is based on this one on the raft over the table. I mean, you can sort of see it, sort of, kind of, can't you? Sort of, kind of. I mean, we don't actually have hexagons. I did try to... I found a hexagon symbol, but when I pasted it into the LCD, it didn't show properly. Which is a shame, but still. Alright, so there we go. This is the habitation area all painted. Those are based on, it might be the mole, but it's possible it's the raft. It has one of those kinds of things near the beds. Yeah, it must be the raft. but unfortunately it's not in those images. Right, so here we go with the cockpit lobby, same as the engineering lobby, and here is the cockpit. Yes. So the cockpit on these ships is very dark. Am I going to find an image? No. So there's very little, if any, orange in the cockpits of the, well, CIG, for whatever reason, call their command deck, the command room, I should say, they call them bridges, and they're perfectly entitled to. Just because I don't, it doesn't mean they can't. But in my opinion, a bridge is more like Star Trek. You know, you have people on the on the bridge at all times. That's kind of one of the things that makes it a bridge. But still, yeah. So this is what they look like. They're very dark, and funny enough, they also have a similar colour lighting. Theirs is slightly more blue than mine, but then I suppose they can pick any colour. They probably have an RGB slider, whereas for us we have to pick one of these, which I'm fine with, to be honest. I did prefer the lighting in Space Engineers, where we could pick RGB, but I'm okay with these. I mean, there's plenty of colours there. Yeah, so there we go. I did have to adjust this ever so slightly. It was able to lift, I think it was 201 and 17.1 there and there, but because I've added a few more blocks, for example, all of this detail work here, I mean, it's only carbon substrate. It's only carbon substrate, plastic extended smart, yeah, whatever. And the extra handrails in the engineering too. Was there anything else? I may have added a little block or two in here maybe, but yeah, so it's not much, but I did have to go and fly around in the exosphere of the planet again just to get those updated figures, and it's not much of a difference. Oh, before I forget, let's put that back to that. Aye, so there we go. It's all done. And I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So, I might mention it also in the tour, but why? Why do I keep forgetting? Why? Now I'm deaf again. So, I might mention this in the tour, but I imagine how this ship would work if it was in Star Citizen is that these pads, if there was nothing on them, would somehow be foldable or collapsible or retractable in some way. I imagine you could probably fold them up at that point there. So here would fold up, maybe. And on that note, I think I'm going to call it an end. So if you have watched this building of video, thank you very much for taking an interest, and hopefully you enjoy the ship. So if you haven't watched the tour video, please go and do so, if you want, of course. And I'll either see you there or in another video, perhaps. Right, I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Super professional outro! Just to give you time really to remove this video from your watch later list or something.